The question that every runner asks themselves every time there's a new release: should I get last year's model or this year's? And what are the differences? Let's break down the Asics Gel Nimbus 26 versus the new Asics Gel Nimbus 27. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Today we're obviously breaking down the differences between the Asics Gel Nimbus 26 and the Gel Nimbus 27, but this is also my full review of the Asics Gel Nimbus 27. Now if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to click around, jump around to the parts of the review and comparison that are most important to you, but if you do so, I would sure appreciate if you came back and watched the full video when you get a chance, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, go ahead, hit that notification button as well so you get notified every time I drop a new video. I typically release 3 videos a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with the exception of some holiday weeks and just maybe some general breaks here and there. Now before we get into the meat of this video, I do want to give some disclaimers and disclosures, which are that although I bought the Asics Gel Nimbus 26 with my own money, I was given the Asics Gel Nimbus 27 directly from Asics for the purpose of review. Now I'm not being paid for this video, nor was I asked to make this specific video, wasn't given talking points, and no one gets to watch these videos beforehand. All thoughts are entirely my own. With that being said, let's talk about the intended use of these shoes. If you've worn any iteration of the Gel Nimbus series, then you know that this is pretty much a recovery day shoe. For the most part, you would consider this a max cushion, and the primary usage is going to be, again, for those easy miles, the days where your legs are a little bit beat up and you need a lot of cushion, a lot of support underfoot just to get you through the day. As such, that's how we're going to be evaluating these shoes. Now from a price standpoint, the Gel Nimbus 26 is obviously going on sale. I'm not sure what it's going to be listed at or what it was listed at last year, to be honest. I can't remember, but I know that the Gel Nimbus 27 is going to be releasing mid-January, which it may be out by the time this video drops, but it should cost about $165. Now from a spec standpoint, the Gel Nimbus 27 is coming in at 10.7 ounces or 305 grams, which is a little bit lighter from last year's model where the 26 was 10.9 ounces and 310 grams. So despite looking similar, and I'll actually talk about the stack here in a sec, the 27 is slightly lighter. Again, talking about the stack, the 27 has 43.5 in the heel and 35.5 in the forefoot for an 8mm heel to toe drop, which is a 1.5 to 2mm increase depending on your sizing or if you are a man or a woman. But the 26 was 42 and 34 for an 8mm heel to toe drop. So again, you actually get more stack overall in the shoe, but it is lighter overall, just slightly, than last year's model. Now from a fit perspective, I feel like the 26 and 27 actually fit pretty much identical, and the differences in how it fits in this sense are going to come down more to like the upper itself, which I'll talk about. But from a length standpoint, they fit true to size length. I would go with your normal size. And then from a width standpoint, I would say that the shoe fits wide overall. Now I personally don't have a wide foot and didn't feel like either of these shoes were too wide necessarily. I do feel like the 27 might be a little bit more standard fit in the forefoot than last year's model, but from the toe box and the heel, I felt like they fit pretty much the same, and it is a wider, again, overall fit. Moving to the upper, this is where these two shoes differ by far the most for me, and just full transparency, it's why I actually have liked the 27, but didn't really love the 26. The 27 uses an engineered jacquard mesh upper. Meanwhile, the 26 used an engineered knit upper. The difference in lockdown between these two uppers is otherworldly to me. Both still have a fully gusseted knit tongue, but the jacquard upper in the 27 just allows you to get so much better lockdown, and it's a more structured upper overall than last year's model. With knit uppers, sometimes I feel like they just don't contain your foot really well. You don't get good lockdown, and that's not the case with this shoe. That was the thing I noticed from the first time I put it on. I actually had forgotten that they updated the upper, and if you watch my vlog from a couple of weeks ago when I got the first run in, you can see that, like, I even said, I was like, I need to go look at the upper because that's what feels different. Something's different about the upper. And it's a completely new revamp. Even though visually they still look similar, the material is entirely different. So a jacquard mesh upper is not going to have quite as much stretch as the knit. The other thing is, ironically, I find that the jacquard tends to be a little bit more breathable. Full transparency, I'm running in winter right now, and I live so I'm not necessarily running in warmer temperatures, where with the 26, I did review it, I think, somewhat mid-year. And so I did take it on some spring runs, maybe even some early summer runs where the temperatures were much hotter. And so I felt like the 26 was a little bit warm, and I haven't felt like that was the case on the 27 at all. But as the weather heats up later in the year, that may be a contributor. But having the jacquard mesh just gives the shoe a lot more structure, and especially when you have that much stack underfoot, you want to feel connected to the midsole. And I didn't feel connected in the 26. I feel very connected in the 27. I don't feel like I'm shifting around in the shoe, despite it being pretty wide overall. Now, what did carry over from the upper in the 26 is the overall cushioning. So you still have the cushioning there in the heel. There's quite a bit that you can see right there. It's very plush, it's very comfortable. And then you don't really have a ton of cushion in the rest of the shoe, but that's okay. Just really, I can't rave more about the update to the upper because it really caught me by surprise. Honestly, I didn't look at the comparison tech sheet that was provided to me before getting the runs in, so it left me kind of puzzled because I actually expected not to love this shoe. Now, moving to the midsole of the shoe, you have the same FF Blast Plus Eco, which is, I believe, again, an EVA-based foam, and my understanding is a percentage of this foam is a recycled material. I believe it was 29%. So the main difference between the 26 and the 27 is really just an increase in amount of foam, but the foam is a little bit lighter. Now, from a density standpoint, it technically should be a little bit less dense, again, because it is lighter, yet there's more. But I found that the sensation underfoot is fairly similar. It's still very much a recovery foam, and if you've run in the Gel Nimbus, to the touch, I mean, it's soft, but when you compare it to a lot of other shoes, like, I don't know, like the New Balance 1080, like, this feels firm in comparison to those shoes. So it's still a firmer overall foam. Something about the density though, with it being maybe a little bit lighter, I feel like it has slightly more energy return in the shoe, and I did do a run where I ran some in the 26, then some in the 27 to kind of get that feel. And so it's not significant. A lot of people might not notice it a ton, but I do think there's just a tiny bit more energy return. But what that means from a pace versatility standpoint, frankly, is almost nothing. Like, this is an easy day recovery shoe. There is no pace versatility in the shoe to me. Strides did not feel smooth, picking up the speed did not feel smooth, but running easy, running recovery miles felt fine in the shoe, felt comfortable in the shoe. It's a very supportive foam. You've got a wide overall base. It feels good and it feels nice, especially when your legs are beat up, and my legs have been pretty beat up as of late, and so this has been nice for those recovery runs days after workouts. Now, the other thing to note with the foam is that because it isn't overly squishy, it doesn't compress in a way that's going to cause you to really collapse. So while this is not a stability shoe, that would be the Gel Cayano from Asics, this is going to be a fairly stable shoe for those types of people who maybe have like one foot that tends to overpronate a little bit more than it should. For me, my right ankle or my right foot sometimes does collapse, and I had no issues in this shoe whatsoever, no discomfort whatsoever. Now with the outsole, you have that hybrid Asics grip, and compared to the 26, it is the same compound, I believe, but a slightly different outsole pattern. But for the most part, the coverage is going to be the same. You can see that kind of channel there, or that cutout, that divot there in the middle of the outsole, which is actually going to provide some of that stability. So as the foam compresses, it almost like hugs the ground and gives you a little bit better, more stable base there. Asics hybrid, or the hybrid Asics grip, it's a good rubber overall. I have not tested this on any wet roads. Utah, for some reason, has not gotten almost any moisture, any like snow or much rain at all, when normally the ground would be covered in snow right now. So I haven't had a chance to take these into any like storms or weather where I could really put the grip to the test. But as far as on my treadmill and on my roads in the mornings, where maybe there's like a little bit of dew or something, I haven't had any issues whatsoever. But again, have not tested it on wet conditions, so I can't speak to that specifically. And then durability and wear patterns on the outsole are gonna be pretty much the same for me when compared to the 26. And so I only have about 30-ish miles on these so far. Normally I take a shoe up to about 50, but I felt like with the 27, I found a lot of what I was looking for earlier on in the shoe, and enough to make the comparison. I'll still get some more miles on it, so if anything changes, I'll do like a 50-mile update, but for the most part, I think durability is going to be pretty much the same in the outsoles of the shoes. And speaking to durability as a whole, just because I do review a lot of shoes, I don't get much more than maybe 50 miles on a pair before I have to move on to the next one. And I'm just kind of constantly reviewing throughout the year. So it's hard for me to speak to long-term durability. I need to be able to run more miles and get more durable myself, speaking of durability, so that I can take on more miles, review shoes faster, and get more miles on them, maybe take them closer to, you know, the 75 to 100 mile range on each pair. But from a durability standpoint, Gel Nimbus 26, the Gel Nimbus line as a whole is known to be a very durable shoe. So people are putting 500, 600, 700 plus miles sometimes on a pair of Gel Nimbus, and there doesn't seem to be any issues, and I have no reason to believe that the 27 will be any different. Now, as far as who's it for, I mean, it's your classic recovery day shoe. It's on iteration number 27. It's a shoe that's been around for a really, really long time. It's the shoe that you reach for when you want support on your run, when you want cushion underfoot. So it doesn't have to be restricted to recovery day for everybody. I know a lot of people, especially newer runners, like to just have a ton of cushion when they're going for long runs, right? So this could be a really good long run shoe for a lot of people. It could be a good easy day shoe for a lot of people. It could be just a standard daily trainer for a lot of people. It just depends on what level of comfort, what level of support, what level of firmness kind of you want underfoot. So for me, given kind of the options out there and how much I run, this is pretty much restricted to a recovery day shoe. I prefer a lighter weight shoe. 10.7 ounces is on the heavier side of shoes. So I like a lighter weight shoe for even my like standard daily miles. But if I'm going recovery run, then this feels really, really comfortable on days where, you know, I lift in the afternoon of days that I run hard in the morning. So I'm pretty wrecked the next morning. So if I'm doing that run, this is the type of shoe that sometimes I like to reach for. And personally, I actually like the firmness of this and the support of this over like a max cushion shoe that is very, very squishy, because I feel like the squish, while it feels nice, doesn't give me quite the support on my joints that I'm looking for. Now, is this a walking shoe? Potentially a walking shoe, but is this a stand around all day shoe? If you're a teacher, if you're a server, if you're working a job that you're going to be on your feet a long time, I don't know if it really is, because it has an 8mm heel to toe drop, and so you're going to be kind of standing at an angle. Now, if you like that, that's totally fine. I know people who stand in Brooks all day have a 10 to 12mm drop, right? Because they like the firmness of the foam. So it may be, but a lot of people prefer to have more of a flatter base or a lower drop in a shoe if it's a shoe that they're going to be wearing throughout the day, if they're on their feet for long periods of time. So if you're moving, yes, I think it can be a great shoe, but if you're standing still a lot, maybe not quite the option for you in that scenario. I think this can be a do-it-all shoe for those who are maybe on the heavier side of the running spectrum, right? If you're looking for support, again, if you just like the support underfoot, can be a great shoe. Not really built to go fast, but frankly, what makes you go fast is the legs that you have underfoot and the engine you have in your lungs and your heart, right? So with that, you can run fast in anything. It just may not be the easiest thing to run fast in. So really just comes down to preference, but I think that this is a really good like beginner, somewhat do-it-all shoe for those who want a lot of support, or for those who maybe are doing a variety of workouts, just a really good recovery day option. So just some final thoughts on the shoe. The Gel Nimbus 27, I think, is a major upgrade over the 26. And it's just funny to me that the real cause of that is just the upper. The foam is a little bit better in my mind, right? There's a little bit more energy return, but the biggest thing is moving to that jacquard upper. I love the look of a knit shoe. I want a knit shoe to work. I want it because it looks cool. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks a lot cooler than more of a structured upper. The reality is, for me at least, I find myself really struggling with lockdown, really struggling with sliding around in the shoe. That's been true. If another model that kind of has this option is the Glycerin from Brooks. They often come with a stealth fit option, and I think the stealth fit looks really cool, and it never works for my foot, but the standard Glycerin does. So I think the move to the jacquard mesh upper was a huge win in my books for my preferences. But if you're someone who likes a knit upper and liked the 26, I don't think you're going to dislike the 27. You just may not love the upper quite as much, but I don't think it's going to be a negative necessarily. So for the most part, if you like the 26, I think you like the 27. If you struggled with fit in the 26, you may want to give the 27 a chance, because I think it makes the experience a lot better overall. So if you stuck around this far, I sure appreciate you. Please go ahead, leave a comment. Let me know what you liked about these shoes. If you're picking up one, which model are you picking up? Let me know what I can be doing better, what you'd like to see more of in these videos. I know a lot of people have mentioned getting graphics. I've been trying to think of how I can do that. I'm not a video editor. I'm kind of learning this on the fly, so I sure appreciate everyone who stops by and watches and comments and engages, because it really means a lot. I put a lot of my heart and soul into these videos, and I feel like they've gotten better. I feel like I've gotten better in front of the camera, but I still have a lot. So let me know. Tell me, give me some constructive criticism, drop it down there in the comments. Please hit that subscribe button as well, that notification bell. And as always, I'll leave you with a question, which is, with the 25 still being available and being on mega sale, the 26 now going on sale, and the 27 now just coming out, which Gel Nimbus are you grabbing and why? Let me know down below. Thanks, everybody.